Right now, I want to turn our attention to the Supreme Court yesterday. They struck down a rule banning violent video game sales to kids in California. Here to talk about it with us this morning is our good friend Jack Thompson from Coral Gables, Florida. Jack, welcome back.
Hey.
Walk people through this story here, because this is something you have been fighting and talking about for, at least 10 years, huh?
Yeah, more than that. I lost my law license on this issue. I was disbarred for appearing on 60 Minutes twice. The makers of the Grand Theft Auto game said in order to improperly influence juries, when in fact I was there warning the people, like a town crier or like Paul Revere, that the school shootings are coming.
Mm-hmm.
We had folks, the silver lining here is that if you read this 92-page opinion, which includes concurrences by Chief Justice Roberts in an opinion written by Alito, who don't go as far as the five others whose opinion was authored by what's become now a libertarian crank, Antonin Scalia, and dissented in as to by Justice Thomas and Breyer, a liberal judge. And by the way, if I feel as though if Justice Thomas agrees with me, I'm probably right. But it's one of the most bizarre judicial rulings you'll read. Mm-hmm. The majority of five joined in with a kind of a troubled concurrence by Alito, says that video games aren't interactive any more than reading a book is an interactive thing. You interact with the book when you read it. Now, this ignores the fact that when you play a video game like Grand Theft Auto, you're not just watching a woman get raped. You're doing the rape, and then you're killing her to get your money back. So Antonin Scalia, who has 8 children, apparently all of whom reached majority before the video game age, doesn't get it. What's even more shocking is that the 3 women on the court, all liberal feminists, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Kagan, and Sotomayor, don't understand the objectifying of women and the rape training that these games do. Scalia said it doesn't really matter if they're harmful. It doesn't matter if there is evidence that these games lead to increased aggression and sometimes violence. He puts video games sold by adults that are adult-rated to other people's children on a par with political speech. Mm-hmm. And after this ruling, there can, if you think about it, and if you read the ruling, there can be no obscenity laws in this country, because if you're not going to restrict the sale of adult-rated materials, which the industry itself has rated them that way and admitted they're harmful to children, then how in the world can you keep out of the hands of adults adult material? Mm-hmm. You can't.
They brought up this, analogy. They compared it to some of the violence we've seen in children's books. Hansel and Gretel kill their captor by baking her in an oven, or right. Cinderella's evil stepsisters have their eyes pecked out by doves, and the evil queen in Snow White is forced to wear red hot slippers and dance until she's dead.
No kid wants to be the evil queen. Whereas in the Grand Theft Auto games, your mission is to kill as many cops as possible, have sex with as many women as possible, engage in oral and anal sex, deal drugs, and so forth, and you're the protagonist. You're not viewing someone acting out in an improper way. You're the person doing that. I didn't see anywhere in the opinions what I think is the strongest argument, and that is the U.S. military uses these games to do 2 things: suppress the inhibition to kill of new recruits, and also give them killing scenarios they wouldn't otherwise have. So if it has that effect on the military personnel, and that if they know what they're doing, then why would it not have that effect on civilians? You see, what's shocking about this ruling, and even shocked Alito and Roberts, who had a concurrence, was the 5, headed by Scalia, said, no state can ever, in any fashion whatsoever, restrict violent material sold by adults without their parents, without the kids' sold to kids without the parents of those kids' knowledge, and that no effort to do so will ever be held constitutional. That's what they said, whereas Alito and Roberts said, wait a minute, maybe California didn't get this quite right, but we shouldn't stop the states from trying to get it right in a fashion that squares with the First Amendment, because these are harmful, these do lead to acts of violence, and we're troubled by the majorities carving out an absolute exception for violent material. Because here's a little nuance that escaped these justices. And by the way, this opinion proves the point that common sense isn't so common, because only Thomas and Breyer exhibit common sense in their rulings. What's going to happen is, first of all, the ratings that are on the games are either going to be repealed, removed, or they're going to be completely ignored, because there's now absolutely no reason for Best Buy and Target and Walmart not to sell adult-rated video games to children, because the court says there's going to be no sanction of any kind on anybody for doing so. And secondly, there's going to be more violence in the games, because the violence now acts in effect as a shield from the courts doing anything about pornographic or sexual material.
That's what's protecting them.
That's right. So the more violence you put in a game and wed it to sexual content, then the industry will say, well, this is overwhelmingly a violent game. There's some sex in it, but the overall impact is violence, and therefore the violent content protects the pornographic content.
Real quick here, the decision was 7-2. Clarence Thomas, as you mentioned, was one of the dissenting opinions. What did he say?
He said, it is nonsense for the majority to suggest that there is some sort of constitutional right of adults to traffic in violent material to other people's children. Children don't have any constitutional right to buy the material, and adults don't have any constitutional right to traffic in that material without their parents' knowledge. Thomas says all that these laws say is, if you're going to sell it to my kid or want my kid to have it, then you got to go through me. And that's what the industry has said that they want. Ironically or tongue-in-cheek, they've said, well, we want parents to be involved in these decisions. No, they don't. They want your kid, and you know that I videotaped my 10-year-old going into a Best Buy.
I remember.
And he was able to buy Grand Theft Auto Vice City, no questions asked. That's still going on, according to the Federal Trade Commission. They want a direct shot at your child. And what this opinion is a corporatist view of the rights of major multinational corporations to traffic in garbage to your children, and the fact that they're big and that it's a $73 billion globally a year industry trumps the rights of parents to protect their children. The silver lining, Pat, in all of this is that a recent poll by the industry itself found that 70% of the American people want federal legislation to stop the sale of these games to their children, as is the case in every other civilized country. You can't sell this stuff. And what this does then, in light of that overwhelming support of doing something about this, is a further undercutting of the American people's faith in the judicial branch of government. These people don't know what they're talking about. They're educated beyond their intelligence. The libertarians are siding with the liberals and saying, screw you to the American parents and to the rights of parents to protect their children. That bodes ill for Democrats who think that we need an independent judiciary, meaning we need them unreactive to any democratic impulse and to common sense. And it fuels the campaign for president, certainly, who will appoint justices like Justice Thomas to the bench who understand that parents have rights too.
Jack, we're out of time. Thank you so much for your insight.